The Wellington Phoenix have beaten Wrexham in their final pre-season game down under. For the Phoenix, this is the perfect start to their pre-season campaign. Considering the team they actually very much fielded against Wrexham was a sort of an understrength team. Majority of their core first-team players were unavailable either due to injury or just unavailable in general. But for Wrexham, 2 defeats in their 3 games down under here is not really the start that manager Phil Parkinson would have wanted for them, particularly when their championship campaign kicks off in only a couple of weeks' time against recent relegated side, and of course a side that played in the Premier League last season, Southampton. But for the Phoenix, this gives them great confidence considering the side that bet Wrexham in that second half was their academy team. So indeed, a very good sign for the future for the Phoenix that their academy players are stepping up in such big occasions. But I'm Nick from Nick'n'detail, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Wellington Phoenix and Wrexham game, which took place in Wellington last Saturday evening. So let's get into it. That's right, when this fixture was announced, as I did actually mention in my preview, it was a bit of a surprise that Wrexham had actually decided to take on the Wellington Phoenix. But certainly in this game on Saturday night, the Phoenix did show that, yes, they were very much well deserving of being given this opportunity. They've not gone on actually just given Wrexham a decent performance. They've actually beaten Wrexham in front of a packed out 25,000 people at Sky Stadium thanks to a second half goal from academy striker Luke Flowerdew. And it was a pretty even performance. I'll get to my thoughts on the game right now. It was actually a relatively, competitive game. Probably Wrexham had the more control, as you would expect. This was pretty much Wrexham's relatively strong starting side. Very much at this stage, their side they will start in their championship season. We do know there are a few signings from what we've heard from Phil Parkinson after the game. There are a few more signings they're looking at bringing in before their championship campaign. And in fact, they actually announced the signing of All Whites left back and former Phoenix player Liberato Kakache on the morning of match day. So another new signing to add to their championship season. But yeah, very much for Wrexham. They had the more control of the game. They did probably look a bit more convincing in front of goal, but the Phoenix, and you've got to give the Phoenix fair play here for a side that is very much under strength for this game, put up a really good fight against them, even created some good opportunities of their own, I think, showing that maybe there's going to be a change of approach on how Giancarlo Italiano plays this season. Just looked a lot more attacking mindset, but just a lot more confident on the ball, just something we didn't really see the Phoenix do last season. But I feel like they very much were in control of the game, Wrexham. The Phoenix were able to very much stop that very well, and were able to take their own opportunities, well. I think particularly that goal as well, which could say was a bit of a fluke. It was still a goal. You still took your opportunity, and particularly for the academy side to be doing that against what was still very much a strong Wrexham 11 that was out there in that second half. Is very much credit to them. So it was a good game to watch. I think surprising to many, considering even including my predictions, I thought Wrexham were going to absolutely walk over the top of the Phoenix, but it was great to see the Phoenix in only the first game of pre-season, having only been in pre-season camp for a couple of weeks, to put on a performance against a side like Wrexham, a well-established side like Wrexham. I think that's great for them going forward into, of course, their A-League season in a few months, but of course their first, proper test of the season, which of course is this weekend's Australia Cup round game against Perth Glory. But overall for the Phoenix, a good start to their pre-season campaign, but for Wrexham, a very disappointing end to their tour, considering there was a lot of hope and excitement for them coming here, and unfortunately only winning 1 of your 3 games against A-League opposition, particularly more notably against A-League opposition's reserves team, their academy teams, is not the best look for them going into a championship campaign, their first championship campaign in about 60 years. So not the way they would have wanted to finish their pre-season campaign. So who was my standout player? I'm going to give a shout out to Luke Flowerdew, the academy striker. Yes, you could say his goal was pretty easy. It was pretty much handed to him on a dinner plate. It was pretty much a give me sort of goal. But the fact for the young 19-year-old to still take that and score is in front of 25,000 people, let alone, a massive crowd that the reserves players, the academy players, won't even be used to near playing, is still a remarkable feature for him. So Luke Flowerdew, my standout player, good performance from him in that second half. A very good performance in general for the Phoenix Academy players in the second half, especially when actually their academy coach Chris Greenacre took over the coaching duties in the second half. I think a great performance from them, of course, considering the reserves themselves are sitting currently 3rd in the Central League here in Wellington at the moment. So a great performance from Luke Flowerdew, a good performance in general, I think, for the Phoenix. Even their side in the first half put up a relatively good showing. But yes, Luke Flowerdew, good performance from him, well taken goal from him in the box there to bounce on that Arthur Okonwo mistake and get the Phoenix that surprising victory, safe to say. But a good performance from the 19-year-old striker. Luke Flowerdew is my standout player. So what's next for both teams? Well, for the Phoenix, of course, as I said, they're actually back in action this weekend. Their round 32 game of the Australia Cup is this Sunday at 7 o'clock. They'll take on Perth Glory away in Perth. What should be an interesting game, considering now they've got two ex-Phoenix players on their roster now, Sam Sutton and Scott Wooten, as of course I've actually said on here before, making the move over to Perth, a couple of months ago, very much after the Phoenix qualified for the Australia Cup, having to do so, having finished quite low in the table last season. But that's what's next for the Phoenix. They head to Perth to take on the Glory in their Australia Cup tie. For Wrexham, as I said, they've of course got a few weeks to prepare for their first game in the second tier of England, the English Championship. They'll take on Southampton, who of course were only in the Premier League last season, having been relegated, having finished last in the standings across the 2024-25 Premier League season. They'll head to Southampton to take on them in their first game in the championship season. But that's going to be for me. Obviously, a great game. Great to have Wrexham, of course, down under, let alone in Wellington as well. The crowd was great, and the Phoenix definitely showed good signs. Yes, it's still early days. It's only the first game of pre-season. Lots of your players are still unavailable. There are still a few signings coming, of course. Afani Eze still get to arrive, but I think for the Phoenix, this is a good start for them, and hopefully what will be a bit of a revival campaign after their disappointing season last year. I think this is a perfect start for Giancarlo Italiano and his side to put in a result like that against a pretty established team in Wrexham. But that's going to be it from me, and until next time, I'll see you later.